Good. What are advantages and disadvantages? So you will have more trust if all the relative transactions are stored in an immutable central ledger. Can be a blockchain where then all the participants have a copy of all the transactions in the blockchain, and if someone tries to cheat on it, then it will be visible in all the copies because they are not the same anymore. So if you have an immutable central ledger, this will increase trust, and there's no need to have an own ledger as a copy of it. Can be blockchain. There's also other possibilities, but blockchain is known as a good example of an immutable ledger because all the participants get a copy of all the transactions. Because you have only one single source of truth, you will have the potential for intelligent automation of payment processes with the smart contracts that I mentioned. And with tokenized payments. What does that mean? A smart contract is a contract that executes itself when certain prerequisites are given. I learned it for the first time when I was looking at the Ethereum blockchain, and there was one guy who set up an insurance against flight delays. So you could say, okay, I have this flight with Brussels Airlines from Berlin to Brussels, and it's really important for me that it is on time, and I want to have an insurance if this flight is late. So I could pay on this Ethereum application. I don't know whether it still exists. I could take an insurance there, and from then on, everything is automated. Because I take the data from the airports, from flight tracker or whatever, and if the plane is delayed, it would be the prerequisite for the smart contract to be executed, and they would pay me my insurance premium. Or if not, then nothing happens. So that's basically a smart contract. It's a contract, a program contract that executes itself from the moment that certain prerequisites are given. That's an advantage because you can automate a lot. Disadvantage is you cannot stop it. So it's programmed, and it's really hard doing. You have no way of doing any policy or things like it. So if you have a smart contract and it's programmed like that, if the prerequisites are given, it will execute itself no matter what other circumstances there are. Reduced effort to check and convert external data into structured data. So one of the basic problems we have, or the basic activities we have in the service hub, is we receive emails, we receive PDFs, we need to extract data from it and transfer it to our ERP system. And basically, that's a lot of our digitalization projects are working on that to do that more efficiently. What we're now saying here is, you do it more efficiently, but it's still a medium change, and that has problems. If you can prevent that you need to do this, then you will have also a lot more advantages, and you don't need to implement these complex and expensive also technologies for doing OCR, to read PDFs, to read data from the invoice out of it, to have machine learning components and so on. It all costs money, and these are projects that we do to handle the break more efficiently. What's here in the idea of triple accounting is not to handle the break more efficiently, but to prevent the break. And we have structured data in our central contract. We just transfer this structured data into our systems, and we don't need any additional IT machine learning tools anymore to analyze and transfer the data. Also for audit, a lot of you might also going the way of audit companies later on. What's the big trouble for audit companies, or the big money you have to spend there? They need to check all these transactions, of course, if you are posting our invoices right, or whether the tools that we are using for them are working right. So that's for them a very big work and a very big part of what they do. If you can reduce on that, you can also reduce a lot of audit costs. And there is one company in Norway, Abendum, that has implemented triple accounting concept. I come more from the efficiency part, but they do it as they want to make the audit processes easier. Also governments, they want to know that we are not cheating, and with VAT and things like that. At the moment it's two independent ledgers, so for the governments it's very difficult to check whether we are handling VAT right and paying the government the right amount of money. Very difficult, that's why we employ audit companies, of course, to check whether we're doing this right. And even then it doesn't work. And for example in Turkey, there's meanwhile a regulation that for all the domestic invoices, you first have to send them to the government, to a server in the government, and they send it on to your business partner, so that the government has all the invoices. You know it, or you're...
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I come from Mexico.
Ah, yeah.
So in Mexico we have...
the government the right amount of money. Very difficult, that's why we employ audit companies, of course, to check whether we're doing this right. And even then it doesn't work. And for example in Turkey, there's meanwhile a regulation that for all the domestic invoices, you first have to send them to the government, to a server in the government, and they send it on to your business partner, so that the government has all the invoices. You know it, or you're...
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I come from Mexico.
Ah, yeah.
So in Mexico we have what we call CFDI. So what we basically do is that whenever we want to send an invoice, we sign it with an electrical firm, and then we validate it. So the government gives us that validation, an autonomous validation. But if they realize whenever we have, because all of the companies, most of the companies are subject to annual audits. So in that audit, if they see that you commit fraud, they remove your firms. So
Yeah.
it's a fraud basically,
Yeah.
because the government gives you the capacity to do that. And it's also, I think it became very famous also in Italy, right?
Italy is also, I think they also implemented it. I said Turkey because I was involved there, but you see that also the governments, they also want to collect money, and they know people find ways around if they can't be controlled. Yeah.
Sorry, it has like a alphanumeric series. The invoice has an alphanumeric code and a QR code, so it's protected. And if you cancel the invoice because maybe it was wrong or the client didn't pay or something like that, you have to justify it to the government why. And because if not, then why are you making the invoice?
Yeah.
It could be legal or maybe it's wrong. It's either way.
Yeah. But that's basically what we see, and they also see governments try to solve a problem of the intransparency, data being managed into systems that can't be reconciled. And that's why I know Turkey, Italy, I know Brazil has also strange accounting rules. And it's also, the government, they know people try to work around. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, what's the impact on the processing times when Turkey or NATO does it, including the government? Because when you have to send every invoice to the government, isn't it like slowing down the whole process?
Yeah, it's done digitally, at least how we are doing it. So basically you send it in two directions to your customer, because you want them to pay fast, of course, but the government also needs a copy of it.